Next, you have what's called the user flows. I would say this is the meat and potatoes, if you want to use the food analogy here.
Sounds good.
Um, the reason is, each user might have a different journey, right? That you guys, as an organization, want to create. So let's take a look at my ping recipe that I already have it deployed here. This says I'm trying to protect this application. And then I can also grab additional attributes, just as we mentioned earlier, from a different source. So meaning, let's say you guys use HR platform that has additional context about the user, or a database, or LDAP server. We're able to go fetch it at runtime if it's needed, if it's not already in one spot. And then we have also the access control if you want to. So I have a little sprinkle and a little twist here, my secret sauce, that says, in order to get to this application, you must be authenticated against my ping as my IDP. And then also put a condition that says the last name has to contain Atkins. Okay, so now let's actually see this. What would happen if I log in as a valid user, but it doesn't have the last name of Atkins? So I'm going to go into my Mavericks here, and then you're going to notice that they're going to get redirected to ping, just as that recipe told it to do, right? So now I have a user of Samuel Tate. So what's going to happen is this person is a valid user, but as you saw earlier, the last name did not equal Atkins. So if they try to authenticate here, they're going to get denied, right?
That's amazing. So it's that easy to set up these policies. Policies that might have been hard coded into the apps or hard coded into ping. You're literally doing this on the fly. Super easy configuration for policies.
Absolutely, and that could be based on any attribute too, right? It could be based on location, pay grade, department, manager info. Really whatever that business is thinking about using to differentiate who should be accessing or not.
Love it.
Yeah, now let me actually authenticate against Atkins so that you can actually see the full working condition as well, because a lot of times people want to see that. So let me go back to my orchestrator here. Once again, it's saying ping, you must authenticate. So this time I have an Alan Atkins person who's going to authenticate. And then once they authenticate, of course, they're able to be authenticated right into that application there very easily, right? So now really the special sauce comes into the next part that I want to show you here. Because once we talked about putting the fabric, how quickly are you able to change or migrate off certain things, right? That's really the topic of today's session. So on my user flows here, I have a one that's already created called, let's say, Okta or even Azure. So let's say I want to use Okta. So I click on Okta configuration. So this time it's going to use my Okta as my IDP. I'm going to deploy this into my orchestrator.
And what we're doing, if I may just read this back to you, tell me if I'm off here, but what we're doing is this is actually sort of that migration step that we're talking about. Instead of, we're actually going to, without touching the app, we're going to go from that ping authentication over to an Okta authentication with no changes to the app.
Absolutely. And once again, you don't have to touch the application ever again if you use our platform here.
Oh, I like this, because we talk in the past about being forever modern and permanently flexible with identity orchestration, because otherwise you get on this treadmill, right? That you talked about, the next shiny object. It comes down and you've got to rewrite your applications again. And then something else comes along. You got to rewrite them again. And doing that at scale is just, it's a nightmare. And so what we're saying is, we do this once, and all of those other services can be easily added to thousands of apps at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And also think of it in a way of, what if that identity provider is having a rainy day, right? So typically you're handcuffed because you're federated with them. All we're saying is that, what if you have the opportunity to switch to a different identity provider, whether it's your LDAP or on-prem AD, instead of that one IDP that you put all your eggs in one basket, right?
So we're sprinkling a little bit of resilience into today's recipe. Is that what we're doing here?
Absolutely, as well. So now if I go back to my application here, you're going to notice that all of a sudden now you're challenged with Okta. Earlier you saw that you have to authenticate against ping, right? So we make it extremely simple to migrate to whichever IDP that the organizations think about migrating off of ping. But at the same time, I think one of the questions people might ask is, we're not quite ready to move off ping, right? What if we still want to use ping, but we also want to use some other IDP at the same time? Traditionally, when you have an application, they only allow for one IDP, right? One master chef in a sense, right? But what
Yes.
if you have multiple chefs? They specialize in their own uniqueness to the recipe or to the cooking show, right? So how are you able to manage multiple IDPs at the same time? So
Chef
this
Tony,
time,
you're reading minds here because this is a question that Michael just asked from the audience. So
oh
please
wow,
go on. But yes, I just wanted to call out. You're reading minds here. Okay.
great. So so now I'm going to show you that